Okay, stay with us because we are waiting for Sean Dyche to take his seat. In fact, there he is. So hopefully we're going to stay with this and let him take his seat and say hello to the media that he's missed since January this year. And we can hear exactly what he's got to say, of course. He's been employed at the City grounds after Ange Postecoglou was sacked after 39 days at the helm as manager. Let's hear what the first question is to Sean Dyche from the assembled media. No doubt they'll talk about that 39 days.
First of all, I suppose, the usual question you ask any manager is, how does it feel to be at the club? Considering your history with the club and the backroom staffs, this must be a special moment.
Well, the briefing I was meant to be doing today was actually for Aqua Credit, because I did an online advert for them. That was planned for today. So I had to cancel that. Somewhat. Yeah, well, part of the job. No, it's true. I had to let them know that I wouldn't be available for that, so I'm pleased to say I am available to be Nottingham Forest football manager and be here today.
That smile seems like it's been on your face for the last couple of days. Is that the case?
Well, I just think, I was explaining on our own TV yesterday that, I've got a longer history with the club from an apprentice, which some people might know or they don't, from 87 to 90, apprentice, young pro, and you never think when you start off in them days, all I wanted to do was play in the first team. You're walking down the river with the Del Boy running past you and the voice of Brian Clough in earshot, let's say, and all the legends that played at that time, and there were some top players, and you're thinking you just want to put the shirt on, and then to round the circle and be here as manager is something quite big for me, and I take pride in that. And so do my staff. Obviously, we've all been touched by Nottingham Forest down the years. Billy Mercer, even he was on loan here. Tony made a couple of appearances, scored a goal. I was explaining yesterday. And Stoney and Woney speak for themselves. They were in the last European match, I think. Played in it. So, they've got a deeper history than me. But obviously, it's fast forward, considerably different club nowadays. But yeah, to be here, a great. I take great pride in being announced as Nottingham Forest manager.
Forest was the third permanent manager of the season. Was there any sort of doubt in your mind about taking this job, considering what's happened in the last few weeks?
No, I mean, I was out of a job, but that wasn't really part of it. I got a call, would I speak to them? And it was pretty much thinking it's a yes before you speak to them, but things still have to be right. They're nowadays contracts and all that. But no, it's not about that. It's not about the past, I'm sure you'll know, I don't question other managers. Everyone has their own style. It's not an easy job. The club made a decision, and that was for me to try and imprint my way of working and hopefully a successful way of working on the club, and that's my focus now.
Manager only lasted a few weeks. Again, does that come into your mindset in terms of if you don't get short-term success, would that be?
No, I think the way football's changing, it can be across the board when changes are made quicker. I think that's just the nature of what we're all in. All managers understand it. Like I said, I'm not here to question the ex-manager or the decisions. I'm here to move forward. With the football club, there's nothing to do with me. I respect all managers. Whether it's Ange, Nuno had a terrific season. Coops, who probably played a big part in starting this journey. But down the years, I still see Frank Clark and Paul Hart and people like that. Paul Hart, an amazing group of young players here, and I used to play against them. And then Frank had some great success here. There's loads of people. I respect them all. It's not about one situation that didn't go as well. What about others that did? So I just want to bring my part to it, and play my part in the rich sort of history of a football club like this.
Ambition is the word that surrounded this football club for the rest of the season. How difficult is it going to be to meet the expectations by going deep in Europe and doing well in the Premier League, considering where the club is now, and I presume where the confidence is?
It is a challenge, but a lot of the hype behind it, yourself, that it's only 4 seasons ago, the first time they came out, they had to really push right the way to the end of the season to maintain Premier League status. Second season was tight as well, a few points and stuff that went through myself at Everton. Forest went through a similar thing, and they stayed up. And then one season catapults the whole feeling, it changes. I'm not doing it down. Fantastic season, by the way, for all around this place. Fans, players, the club, the owner, everyone. And the press as well. I think everyone enjoyed that season. But, it doesn't give you a divine right. And I think the club know it. I think the fans know that. I think deep down, of course, they want the glory days to come back. But it's still not a given. You don't just go into each season, you are bona fide a top Premier League club or bona fide going to win Europe. It's not like that. I've been in it a long time. On the other hand, of course, you've got to be open-minded. What can be achieved? Because if you're not open-minded, they wouldn't have done what they did last season. But I marvelled at some of the work they did last season. Make no mistake, I've told the players that. Now, can we just add our bit to it? Can we find a consistent way of working that continues to bring successes of whatever kind it is? Obviously, it's a different success at the moment. We've got to get back to winning ways, you know. I think people know the stats, I won't bore them with it, but they weren't winning at the end of last season, particularly, you know, and maybe ran out a bit of steam. It's a big season, you know, and all the enormity that comes with that. And it hasn't been a great start this season, we understand that. So there was a few signs there about what was needed and the changes, and I've got to look at that, but then look at what the good group, I think there's a very good group here and a very talented group. And they've certainly over last season shown the will and desire to be a very good group and show to the world they're a good group. Now we've got to reignite that, you know, and make sure it's intact going forwards.
Talk about the group. It's a big group. We've got a big squad. There's 120 million pounds worth of players, not even in the matchday squad on Saturday. How difficult is it going to be to keep everyone happy and while you're making decisions about who you want to play, who you trust, and if certainly players possibly...
It's part of the job. It's part of the responsibility. You know, I've already said to them, you can only pick 11. You know, that's the truth of being a manager and trying to keep the players who could be... They have to be ready at any time, you know, and I've also promoted that thinking, you know, because football careers change very, very quickly. They can change on someone else's misfortune. You know, it could be an injury, it could be someone's banned for a few games, or someone's dropping form, and their careers can change very quickly. So keeping them motivated to stay fit and well and be ready for the challenge if it comes their way, then that's always a challenge in football. But that is part of being a manager and part of being a good staff. But treating people with respect, treating with honesty, I've found that that's served me pretty well throughout my managerial career, and I'll certainly be treating these with respect and honesty.
Thanks, Anton. Owen, BBC.
Hi, Sean. Good to speak to you. And you've spoken about your passion for the club. How do you think you'll feel when you walk out of the City ground and here on looking tired?
There's still a job to be done. You know, I'm pretty much flatlined through success and failure. Everyone will know that. Don't get too high with the highs, too low with the lows. I've had both. But no, look, it is a tingle up your spine. I mean, I've been here the last few years, and I must say the Forest... You know, the team obviously show what they can show, but the fans here have been amazing, I think, the last few years. I mean, I've been here, you know, even as the opposing manager, I've been here as a supporter, and the club, as a manager, but come in by local support. And, you know, they've always been very kind to me here, you know, when I come out of work and I come watch the games. But they've built an atmosphere, but that's a lot of credit to the fans as well. You know, they've built an atmosphere here, and it's important because we've made it a really tough place over the last few years to come and win games here. You know, I know that as being an opposing manager. So to add that to it and that noise and the feeling, of course, there'll be a little bit more tingle in me. That's a human response. But I'm aware there's a job to be done. I'm not just here for a fun time, you know, to round my career and go, oh, well, you know, I went back to Nottingham Forest. That's not the case. I know there's a job to be done, and that's what I'm really focusing on. Taking the club forward the best I can and the best my staff and the players can do, and giving the fans more of the good stuff that they've had recently.
What we saw of training today looked quite fun, quite enjoyable. But what's going on with the piggybacks? I think we've seen it with you before.
Well, didn't quite get on as well as I thought, because you know when you shout mount and a few of them are thinking, what does that mean? So that was interesting. They knew what it meant by the end of it though. No, they just, look, you know, they've had a lot on. You know, whatever people think of players, they still feel it. They still feel the change. You know, the media change, the social media change. In fact, things haven't gone as well as they'd liked and the club had liked and all the rest of it. So we're just trying to break it a little bit, you know, make them realise we're all human, we're all in it together, get a good atmosphere before we start with the serious stuff. I can assure you, after the bit that you filmed, there was a lot of serious work done this morning, a tactical overview, but we are cramming it. You know, we've got 2 days to cram it all in and before the first game, and then we've got to cram it again for the next game. And, you know, the first few weeks are going to be like that, but that's often the way it is. So, yeah, trying to cram a lot of information into short periods, but still have a smile on your face. Want the players to come in and look forward to coming in. That's a big part of how we work. I always have done. You know, not everything can be blissful for you, but you've got to look forward to what you do, your profession. And you've got to come in looking forward to it. So we want to make it a very serious place in the sense of the work that gets done, but we can have a laugh and we can have a bit of fun along the way as well.
Thank you. Pablo for ITV.
Hi, Sean. We saw the club put out a statement yesterday saying that the current squad is closely aligned with your way of playing. Is that the way you see it?
Well, I've learned about players, obviously. There's a few new signings. Some of the other players I've known, obviously, from the last couple of seasons. A few new signings. You know, it's different when you're watching a game analytically than when you actually work with players. You know, there's some players who you think weren't as good as they are, and then they are better, often. And the other way around. It can be like that when you're working up close and personal with them. what we've noticed so far, I think the quality here, I think there is a good spirit amongst them. It's maybe just been pressed down a little bit by all the noise and then won games. Let's face it, winning doesn't cure everything, but it goes a long way to making that feel-good factor for everyone concerned. And some of the things that feel quite big when you're winning feel smaller. And I think it enhances it if you're not. So I think trying to sort of take that feeling away as much as anything and sort of say, look, to the players, there's some real quality here. That's what I've noticed. The idea to what we've got to try and do is find the balance of the framework which works so well for them, but the freedom to go and attack and score goals and maybe open up when we can. And that's a tough balance to find. Everyone thinks it's as easy as me just saying that. It's not. Because if it was, everyone would do it. So getting the culture, getting the environment, how we like it, but also the performances, but building on a really solid base they've had not so long ago, but also the freedom to go and play and hopefully go and score goals and excite the crowd. That's the ideal nirvana moment, but we've got to find that.
I think we all got a really good insight into the way you see the game during the FA Cup final, when you kind of successfully predicted exactly how Palace would score.
I can't be honest, I got a lot on that one. I can't tell you.
It literally happened to a team.
Palace fans were happy.
Yeah, you said, I think City were being really aggressive with their press. You said Palace need to hit the balls and Mateta surround him, get the second balls. Is that what we can expect to see with you as Forest manager?
No, it's too easy. It's too easy, but there's nothing wrong with it. If you can play forwards, why not? Last season had great success here playing forwards quickly, so why wouldn't you? You've seen this season, I'm sure you all have seen the way the stats are changing. Excuse me. More longer balls this season. The first time in 10 years, I think it is. More long passes, more long balls, whatever you want to call it. Of course, when other teams say it's long passes, when I've done it in the past, it's been long balls. We all know that. I joke about it, but it's real. Look, we want to play effectively. We've got to try and play effectively because we've got to get back to winning. Right, that's the start point. No point in me telling you we're all going to play like Spain when they won the World Cup. It's not that easy because you've still got to penetrate and you've still got to score goals and you've got to win. So how many different ways can we try and win? How many different styles can we find? They found a style that was very successful. Can we build on that and alter it slightly to maybe open up and use some of the skill level of the players slightly differently? We'll see. But there has to be a base to work from. And the players are aware of that, by the way. It took a lot of feedback from the players, not just me speaking to them. They were very proud of what they did last season and the way they did it. And there's no problem for me because I agree with them. Now can we maybe mould it slightly differently, but keep that winning mentality? There's going to be a work in progress. It's not like you can't just flick a switch, but they've got it in them because they've already shown it, and now it's trying to maybe just twist it and turn it and find a balanced way of being effective. Long ball, short ball, it's got to be effective football, and that will never go out of fashion, by the way. I've seen enough fashionistas coming in and out of this division in the 11 or so years I've been a Premier League manager, certainly just in the Premier League, that is. And there's a lot of fashionistas gone in and out. You've got to win games. It's simple as that. It's just that the be-all and end-all is winning games. And the Forest fans, don't forget, they accepted a different way of working than the history of this club last season. It was very successful. So I think they're more open-minded now, of how many different ways you can try and win a game. Look at the fashion currently for set pieces. I was laughing. I did a podcast with Tony Pulis and Mick McCarthy. They asked me to do a podcast. Tony's now being lauded for long throws. He's getting hammered. You know that. You all know it. He's getting hammered for long throws, and now he's being lauded for how they use long throws. It's the fashion of football. It changes all the time, and I'm not pontificating one way or the other. The bit that I like is when you win. Notice I want Nottingham Forest, I want this badge to be winning football matches way beyond my time. I want the club to win. That's the main thing. This badge is bigger than any manager, that's for sure. And it's bigger than, there's one manager that's probably as big as the badge. We all know that was. And they say, hey, young ginger, well done. But there's not many, only him, I would say.
Someone for me.
Sean Dyche is still talking to the media. Let's dip back into what he's got to say.
The ones you've had before, and are you a little bit more
I
excited
have absolutely zero interest in myself at this football club. I have full interest in the club moving forwards, trying to get it back onto an even keel, at least to try and get it back to winning ways. No interest in me. I've been in it long enough. Got fans of mine, got people who, you say they're not. I've got haters just from the way it is in football now. I've got no problem with it. This badge is bigger than me, that's for sure. So I'm just doing my bit as the best I can with my staff and the players to correct the current situation. If we can move it forward in style, that'd be brilliant. But as long as we can move it forward, as long as we can take it forward and take it to a better place, that's the start point. And the rest will look after itself, or I certainly hope it does.
Just lastly from me, funnily enough, I met your good mate Johnny Owen in the pub in Belsize Park last night.
It's impossible, he never goes in the pub.
He, of course, made that fantastic film, I Believe in Miracles.
He did.
Delight for you. Obviously, you were doing some work with Johnny Owen at TalkSport. How difficult was it to reject, to leave that behind and take the Forest job?
Really? With all due respect to TalkSport, I enjoyed my time on it, the shows we did do, but Nottingham Forest or TalkSport, really? Come on, let's have it right. Yeah, come on, let's have it right. I was disappointed if that one was a close call. But no, the Miracle Men, I love them guys. I spent so many afternoons on a Thursday with them. The Thursday club, we promoted that idea, me and Johnny across the PFA, the LMA, saying, why are more teams not doing this? Why are more clubs not doing this? And I think it's a great incentive for clubs to put something very simple together. The Miracle Men, I was up seeing John Robbo, bless him. He's very poorly, but I was up seeing him the other week with Johnny and Vic, and these are legends of the game. I'm not a legend. I'm here to just play my part. And them guys are the real legends, and spending time with them and chatting with them. And trust me, I've got my own history. They've got a much deeper history than me, but now I've got a chance to be part of the history, and I'll take it. It's simple as that. I'll take it with pride. Let's see where we can take it as well.
Thank you.
Thanks, Max. Chris for Sky News Radio.
Congratulations on your appointment, Sean.
Thank you.
There is a perception that you are a manager who comes into a club to try and keep them in the Premier League, not associated with winning trophies or challenging for titles. I appreciate you'll see yourself as a very ambitious manager yourself. So what do you see as realistic, achievable targets during your initial 2 years with the club?
Well, to be honest, I think most of life is run on perception now. Most people would talk about the truth, not actually telling the truth. So that's fine. That's the way of life now, So I'm not bothered about that. I'm trying to be successful. I've always tried to be successful. But the first success you can be is being in the Premier League. I've worked 300 and odd games in the Premier League. That's not you can't be lucky for all 330 games. It's impossible. So you've got to know your way around it. And then if you know your way around it, how far can you take it? That's the next challenge. We had, I've had spells in my career at other clubs which have been very, very strong spells. You know what I mean? To take a small club like Burnley up there and get into Europe was incredible. But that's all past me now. This is Nottingham Forest. This is bigger than all of that. Bigger than my history. That's what I said. It's not about me. It's about the club. For me to do the right thing by the club it's not just me, the staff, the team, the ownership, everyone. It's fell in an awkward place for the first time in a number of seasons. Now it's our job to find a way from that. So to start talking about winning this, winning that, we're going to play this way and that way, how about getting us winning first? Then we can talk about it maybe. But at the first point of call is, can we get this team to remember very quickly how it was finding wins? And can we add our own imprint on that? That's the challenge now. It's not about me. Perception is fine. Everyone can talk about whatever they want. And managers have become big in the Premier League. It's just the way it is. I remember it happening 10 or so, probably even longer than that, my second season in the Premier League, I think. They made it clear. They said a lot of the talk now is going to be about managers.